And the service component of, when we talk about ROIs from applications, which is what our viewers want to hear, right? The ROI is the technology works. We know it works. It was released. The question is, how do you use it? And are you continuing to use it? And how does it work together? And that's where key people like we have on the call here help make that happen with education all the way to ongoing continue support, training, and insurance that you, Mr. Executive, are getting what you were promised out of the technology. So first question, digital transformation is a term commonly referred to, perhaps overused, as we've heard, to describe all sorts of ways to better leverage technology. What does the term digital transformation mean to you? We'll start with Catherine, sorry.
Sure. So as I mentioned when I introduced, I've been a part of quite a few banks, and I'll just say as a qualifier, because if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see some listed. As a consultant, I worked with a lot of them, so I don't want to make the assumption that any you see are the examples I'm giving in my examples, because that could be an issue. But what I will say is, as I've worked with a lot of small and mid-sized regional banks who over the last 20 years have not only grown, acquired, gone through M&As, there is so much legacy on-prem technology written in Cold Fusion, .NET, and even older languages that are still in use. In fact, even recently we were talking to the Federal Reserve Bank, who's having the same problem. They have a ton of legacy technology. Healthcare, ton of legacy technology. It's how do you make that actionable, integrate that, move it to the cloud if it really needs to be there, keep securing it. Those are the conversations I've been a part of, and I've been a part of dozens, where you're trying to figure out what are all of your old applications, what's already in the cloud, how do you start connecting, integrating all of that so you don't have this web of integration points, but instead have something centralized and actionable. And then, oh, by the way, there's that data lake with all that data, and how do you use that? So for me, in my experience, digital transformation has been all about how do you take all of that and make it relatable, actionable, usable data that hopefully consolidates the use or need of so many different applications to accomplish one possible workflow.
Thank you. Derek?
So digital transformation, a lot of it depends on the type of customer, the size of the customer, and their skill level. It's something that is going to happen eventually. From automating the simple processes they have. Well, let me back up. To start out, the big one is combining and integrating all of their platforms and services that they have so that they're getting better analytics, better ways to track their data. But it's going to extend further on into even the simple manual tasks that they're doing today that are not even recognized, that can be moved to the cloud and moved away from that manual process that they've been doing for so long. It's not a matter of when it will happen. It's a matter of, or if it'll happen, it's a matter of when it will happen. And a lot of that is with the culture of the company itself. So that term is very broad, and can be categorized specifically on industry type, skill level type, and what that direction looks like in necessity.
Yeah, you touched on a topic that chaos, as we discussed this morning. There's identified chaos, and then there's the chaos you don't even know it's there. But the point is that the money for the changes are in your IT infrastructure now, and that's how no code, low code is going to help you find it. Stephen.
I would say that from my perspective, with some of these smaller companies that I've been working with, digital transformation really means something that's scalable, enforceable, and trainable within your organization. Because what we really have in a lot of cases is I can achieve digital transformation today if I have an eager marketing director with an Amex card, right? But that's digital transformation for them for that moment. And they might turn on WhatsApp or Asana and think they're good and not know what the problem is. But then you wake up and you don't have consistent process across the company. No one knows what they did. And so that's why you have to have process maturity, and you're looking at an actual architectural conversation. And the art of it, from my perspective, is convincing marketing that it is harder than just grabbing that Amex card and going out and buying whatever tool they Googled for 5 minutes. So
Yeah, exactly. And all those tools that, they're good at storing data. But what are you doing with the data? What is it? What is it? Are you accessing that data? Are you using it for forward-thinking decisions? And that's important rather than just upping your Google and your Azure storage contract. Lance?
I think digital transformation is it's a time period. It shows our industry has arrived over the last 30, 40, 50 years. If you look at the history of computing, and I think back to 100 years ago, and I think I might have used this analogy last time, but I just was in the classroom the other day. I go, 100 years ago in Tallahassee, Florida, where I'm at, people were arguing about, are you going to get a car or not? And you didn't have the highway systems yet, but you had this awesome product that was life changing. And then if you look at what happened with the highway system, that came like 30 years later in the 40s and 50s. Airports, same thing. It was World War II. We had airports around from the military, but then commercial airlines. If you go look at your airports, probably been around since 1940 if it's an older, if it's an older one. So when I look at digital transformation, I'm really excited. It celebrates that the collaboration is happening at such a high rate of speed. We have to move away from the old practices of building system and come right into the new. And I like that. It's like setting expectations. It's not as easy as, hey, get the Amex card and go buy that app. Somebody needs to understand the ecosystem and how that component snaps in. You still have data management, still matters, how you're going to protect it. Love what Catherine talked about, the data lakes. Like that, all of a sudden you're gathering data. Can we use that? Is that a value? I think our shift in focus is now towards the analytics part. And the last thing I would say is if you go back and look at search terms on the internet, Google tracks it back to 2004. Business intelligence was like highly searched back in 2004. It's gone this way. Analytics has gone up. And I think it's our industry rebranding itself along the way. So digital transformation is nothing more than modernizing people, process, and technology, but getting the people to understand that let's change the tasks that you do. One of our panelists had talked about, and I think Stephen, it was you, like moving more towards a process-centric way instead of Lance does this task or Stephen does this task. It really is about what that process is, and that's where we should be designing and modeling, but also telling the person, hey, they may be scared of it. No, like open it, like open your brain, celebrate that. You offer a different experience, and now we can maybe get you into looking at something you weren't able to look at because now we have technology that can automate that. So digital transformation is going to make us better as a society, better as a business unit, collaborating with each other.
And I think the point, a strong point there is you've got the teams that understand the processes. They're there. And so you hear the phrase centers of excellence, and pulling together a center of excellence in your company versus 10 steering committees that chew up everybody's time, but bringing that team together to talk about, how you can do it and work with it. And with these tools and the partners involved, you can get there, and you can start slow, as we talked about earlier, and we'll talk about again, but move at your own pace, which is different than the all or nothing from years ago.